They say no man ever truly comes back from war. Yesterday, June 6, 1944, we stormed Omaha Beach in one of the largest amphibious assaults in military history. We barely managed to punch through the German lines, and today as we work to establish a supply chain, the enemy strikes back with an intense counterattack, and now I'm right back in the shit. With every bullet that whizzes past, and every explosion that shakes the ground beneath my feet, I wonder if I'll be another name on a long list of casualties resulting from this goddamn war. I see their faces. The great warriors who fell before me while attempting to survive hell let loose. Heroes like Husk and Warfrags cut down in their primes, their stories left untold. I owe it to them, to my family, to myself, to keep going. But surviving yesterday's invasion was only just the beginning. Now I fight to survive an entire game of hell let loose. As the counterattack begins, I set off toward the front lines, adrenaline pumping through my veins. In the distance, I spot a familiar figure, my Romanian friend and brother-in-arms, Neeve. That boy and I have been through the ringer together, surviving countless skirmishes and forging an unbreakable bond in the heat of combat. I still vividly remember our first encounter, sweating our balls off in the scorching desert heat of El Alamein, and Neeve taught me how to say the word balls in Romanian. Kwaye! Ever since then, we've fought side by side, navigating the horrors of war with a shared sense of duty and camaraderie. In the freezing winter of Bastogne, we often spooned together for warmth, sharing stories of home and dreams of peace. Of course, I was always the big spoon. We developed something of a silent understanding. We would always stick together in battle to improve our odds of survival. And today is no different. In this zero-death run, having Neeve by my side is crucial. His presence is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, brotherhood can light the way. But as we get closer to the church, I'm overcome by a sense of dread. Something just doesn't feel right.
Alright, Neeve, we better slow down a little here. Start being careful. We're gonna run right into some Germans and it'll all be over just like that.
Neeve was being a little too aggressive this time. In an effort to calm him down a little, I remind him of what he's fighting for. His love of sushi.
You ever want to eat sushi again, Neeve?
I ate sushi recently, but I'm gonna eat it again.
Yeah, but you want to eat it again, right?
Yep.
You want to get home to that
Last
girl?
time we went to the store, we didn't find any.
But it really didn't seem to sink in for him. And then, just like that,
Force dropped their supplies around the corner.
I'm dead.
Oh shit.
Neeve was cut down right behind me. I was horrified, but my instincts kicked in and I ran to take cover in a nearby abandoned house. I didn't have time to grieve in that moment as my adrenaline was through the roof. I watched the doorway I had just run through intensely, my rifle raised and ready to indiscriminately fire upon whatever darkened that doorway. But nobody ever came. I took a moment to work up my courage, and as I carefully left that house, the gravity of losing my best friend hit me hard.
My best friend is dead. How am I supposed to carry on now?
But my sorrow quickly turned into anger as I cursed,
These goddamn Germans. This goddamn war.
and my anger hardened into determination. I was going to survive the war so that I could personally deliver the news to Neeve's family. My little brother, Scotty Bugatti, was too young to be drafted, and he was single and on vacation in Romania, so I knew he would slide into Neeve's girlfriend's DMs and take good care of her. Now it was time to exact my revenge on these Germans for what they just did to my best friend. But I realized I was separated from my unit now, all alone near the artillery battery. But something was telling me I wasn't really alone. I shoulder my M1 Garand, creeping toward the break in the hedgerow when suddenly, as I slowly poke my head around the corner, my eyes are drawn to a red parachute. I knew from basic training that the German supply tubes look a lot like dongs, and that's when a second German popped out of the hedgerows. I knew I had to destroy those supplies, but I didn't get but a few steps toward them before 3 more Germans came crawling out of that hedgerow. It only took me 4 shots to put the 3 of them down. Not too bad for a small-town Wisconsin boy. I pushed onward to find the supply tube when yet another German appeared. I had already wiped out an entire German squad along with their field radio when I turned to my left and couldn't believe what I saw. A German garrison not 10 meters away from me.
Got it.
It seemed like the immediate threats have been neutralized, but I felt exposed in the open and decided it was time to fall back.
Yeah, I need to fall back a little bit.
As I took a moment to collect myself, Private Spearman approached me, seemingly impressed by the trail of bodies I had just left behind.
I just see bodies everywhere.
Oh yeah, I never found.
But before he could even commend me, he took a bullet to his stomach
Super hard. Oh god.
and bled out right there in my arms inside that bunker, not 3 minutes later. Rest in peace, Spearman. I looked at my map to find that I was alone and fairly deep behind enemy lines. I decided I was going to head north to try and flank Vierville-sur-Mer where the enemy was dug in, when I noticed I was right next to a freaking enemy recon vehicle.
Oh, I'm right next to a Puma. That's wonderful.
And thank God it didn't see me, and it moved on a few moments later. It was time to make my move. I knew I was getting close to the bulk of the enemy team, and I was shitting my pants, to be honest. But then I heard footsteps. So I turned to see who it was and was overcome with relief to see a couple of friendly soldiers joining me on the flank. I carefully push across the main road heading into Vierville-sur-Mer, and that's when I stumble upon another enemy garrison. I prayed to the Lord I wouldn't run into an entire platoon spawning in as I approached the garrison to dismantle it, and it would seem my prayers were answered.
Got the Gary.
Another garrison destroyed.
The supplies. Hell yeah, man. Don't let me die. No death run.
I decided this barn would make for a great place to dig in and start picking off enemies. If I start taking return fire, I can quickly pop back into the barn and take cover. A lone German caught my eye in an open field, and I took the opportunity to put a hole in his helmet. Over the next couple of minutes, I listened as gunfire rang out all around the barn. I kept an eye on my map and noticed blueberries disappearing around me one by one.
Got blueberries dropping all around me. Shit.
It would seem the Germans were closing in on my position fast, and at the same time I realized my sight lines were a bit too restricted to effectively defend myself, so I decided to fall back a little ways and look for a better position.
Alright, I need to get out of here.
I found another barn to the west that had windows offering a better view of my surroundings, including a goddamn tiger tank that was pushing into the back of Vierville-sur-Mer. I was going to make my stand in this here barn. Every damn time I leaned out that barn window, I knew I was putting myself at risk of catching one to the dome, but my sense of duty to God and country gave me the courage I needed to push through the fear. Being behind enemy lines gave me the element of surprise I needed to kill the enemy before they had a chance to return fire. One after the next, I picked off unsuspecting enemy soldiers with my trusty N1 Garand, including a pesky machine gun up in the church tower. As a matter of fact, things were going a little too smoothly, so after a bit, I decided it was time to move on. I noticed a bit of a lull in the action, and that's when I made my move. I started to push northwest across an open field towards a small shed, which would give me some hard cover. I knew I had to be really careful about the large house with multiple windows overlooking my position, but after observing it for a minute, I determined that it was safe to cross the rest of the field. I felt a sharp burning sensation in my right butt cheek as I slipped around the corner of the shed for cover. I wadded up bits of bandage and stuck them into my asshole. Not the one I had before, but the new one I had just acquired. It hurt like a son of a bitch, but I knew it was just a flesh wound. I didn't want to be a sitting duck waiting for the guy to come finish the job, so I started to look for him and see if I could get him while he pushed toward my position. The next thing I know, a goddamn potato masher lands right at my feet. Not good. As I laid on my back looking up at the beautiful blue sky, the bright sun lighting up the clouds above me, my entire life flashed before my eyes. My wedding night, the birth of each of my children, the time I sharded in high school and had to throw away my underwear and go commando for the rest of the day. I could hear the German footsteps getting closer and closer, so I closed my mouth tightly just in case they were coming to teabag me. And then everything went black. I'm not sure how much time went by, but the next thing I knew, I saw the most beautiful bright white light. I didn't know what it was, but it was the most incredible, peaceful moment I had ever experienced. And then I heard the sound of Neeve's voice.
Soul Sniper, it's not your time yet, you need to go back.
Suddenly my eyes shot open and I was looking up at a medic. He gave me a shot of morphine and packed my wounds good enough to get me back in the fight.
Oh, you beautiful son of a bitch. I'll never forget this, dude.
But staying there was not an option. I needed to get to a safer place, so I mustered up everything I had left in the tank and made my run for it. By now the Germans had pushed us all the way back to the beach, and my only saving grace was the fact that I was still behind enemy lines. It was looking like we were gonna lose this battle, but to be honest, I was just feeling blessed to still be alive. We got word over radio that we were falling back. All I need to do now is not catch a bullet to the dome, and I'm gonna live to fight another day. Shit, on my way to our extraction point, I even stumbled upon a German radio, which I promptly destroyed. I wish I could say the same for Private Husk, Private Warfrags, Spearman, Neeve. But I survived. I beat the odds, at least this time.